right, I am a preschool teacher in the Old North End of Burlington, and I've been a teacher there for the past 5 years. And today I want to talk about some curriculum we did over the year where I spent the entire summer picking up garbage with 3 and 4-year-olds, which was a lot of fun. And how it really began is that, young boys, for whatever reason, I don't really understand, they love superheroes. And who are we kidding? How many people here love superheroes? How many adults? A good amount. It sticks forever. And so, every year, these young boys, they really want to play superheroes. And all they really want to do is just run around. And so what I thought of is, let's think about what it means to be a superhero. And let's start by making some costumes. And so we brought out some sewing needles and we designed some costumes. And each child was able to really give their own flair and their own invention to each costume. And then when we were done with those costumes, we thought more about what are our own superpowers or our own strengths. And we put it into this Helping Hero phone book where, if you needed help with something, you could just look up your friend. And in that book, it talked a lot about the different children's strengths and also what other children said about them, which I think is really great because it was really able to help children build great self-esteem. It was the beginning of the year where you're throwing in a ton of children who don't really know each other together. And it also helped in the classroom because we were able to make this Helping Hero job chart, which is literally just a chore chart, but they love it. So any parents out there with young kids, it's all about how you name it. And then it expanded, as our community grew and we started exploring more, we started going around the school, we have a baby room there, and they said, hey, we need some help reading to the babies. So we did that. We had a classroom fish that unfortunately died. And so we sat down at a meeting and we talked about it. And, I asked them, what should we do with the fish? And one child said, we should eat it. And another child said, we should put it in the river and it'll come back to life. But eventually we decided we would bury it, and so we did that illegally. Don't tell anyone. And another thing that we would also do is that we have a garden plot right nearby, an Archibald garden, and we're really lucky. And we would help the toddlers grow some different produce and help them with that. And while we were walking around the neighborhood in the Old North End, something that if you have children, is that children are really low to the ground. And so they notice everything on the ground, and they want to pick it up, even when you say, please don't, and even if it's gum, which has happened. I am a big believer in the idea that the environment, the environment that you're in really reflects how the people around you in that environment feels about you. And for the Old North End, sometimes I was feeling, as we were walking around, always seeing garbage, always having to redirect these children and say, hey, please don't pick it up. So I thought about writing a letter, and I wrote a letter to my city councilor, which was a nice letter, but not particularly successful, which will happen. One of the things is that during Recycle Day, if there's wind, all the recycling goes everywhere. There's some people nodding heads. And another example, and I am a systems person, so for me, the city councilor suggested, hey, how about you pick up some trash? And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm a systems person, let's just get bigger trash cans. But the more I thought about it, and the more I thought about my students, I thought, this actually would be a great idea. In some sort of cosmic iteration on Front Porch Forum, the One Good Deed Fund advertised. They are a micro grant in the Old North End where they give only grants of up to $100. And the whole idea is that you do a kind deed for someone else in your neighborhood. And so I was able to get that grant, which was really wonderful. And something I need to talk about is that while we were on these walks, safety is such an important issue because we do live in Burlington, and there is the chance of syringes or needles nearby because of heroin users or even people who need to inject any sort of medicine. And an example is that we work right across the street from the chit and food shelf, which often there are drug users that utilize that. And one day we were going there and we were picking up trash and someone came running out and they were like, please stop, stop. And we're like, okay. And he's like, we just, we love what you're doing, but there might be needles in there. And I had talked to these children about it in a developmentally appropriate way, and they totally understood. I was like, all right, let's get in line and keep walking. And they got right back in line with their partners, and we kept walking. And so as we're walking around, we found a lot of cigarettes too. And we had to have discussions about that because some children were worried if they picked up a cigarette butt, they would catch on fire. And another thing that we found was a lot of lottery tickets. I believe in emerging curriculum, so this is a great way to learn math and work on numbers and match different numbers. And then there was one day where a parent came in frantically, and they were like, Charles, my kid was yelling at someone on the street for smoking, which I totally felt responsible for. And I was like, all right, we'll talk to them. And I was like, hey, they're making, bad decisions, but that's their decision. You don't want to be yelled at when you're making decisions that might not be the best. And they totally got it. So that is just a brief overview of some of the work that we have been doing in the preschool at Burlington Children's Space. Thank you.